In this video, we are going to sew one of our most beloved dresses, the Anabelle dress. It is a summer-style dress, super simple, very pretty, and can be made with very cool fabrics, such as voile, batiste, and poplin cottons. This pattern includes written instructions, but today you will accompany me on this new sewing journey throughout the video. Today, I am going to use a printed cotton poplin that is very easy to work with. First, we will mark the pieces on the wrong side of the fabric. The seam allowance is already included in the pattern. However, the bust dart area does not have a seam allowance. This has been done so that you can mark the curved shape of the dart clearly. So, when cutting, you will need to add a seam allowance in that area. I will also cut the front and back piece of the bodice from another cotton fabric that will serve as both interfacing and lining. In this case, I am using a non-fusible interfacing. Let's start sewing, beginning with the front and back darts. Folding the piece right sides together at the center of the dart, we will stitch along the curved shape of the front at the chest. We will do the same on the back, but it is easier because it is a standard straight dart. We will usually press the darts toward the side. We will press the back dart flat, but in the case of the front, we have to press with a tailor's ham to respect the curved shape of the chest. This will also prevent the dart from becoming pointy. Carefully and with the help of the iron, we will round off the end of the dart. Next, we will place the front and back pieces right sides together along the sideline and stitch on the seam allowance. We will press these seams open. We will repeat this process we just did to sew the bodice with the interfacing pieces. As I mentioned, I am using a very stable cotton fabric for the outside of the dress. This allows me to interface the pieces once I have sewn the darts, side seams, as you can see on the screen, because the fabric will not deform and I can make both layers of fabric fit together well. If the fabric were less stable, such as crepe, we would have had to interface each piece separately at the beginning. I will baste both layers of fabric together so that they act as a single piece. If you watch closely, I have placed them wrong sides together so that the interfacing acts as a lining. It is important to try on this piece to make sure there are no bubbling after adding the interfacing. If everything is correct so far, we will move on to sewing the skirt to the bodice at the waistline. The skirt at the waist has a curved shape, while the bodice is practically straight. Placing the pieces right sides together, we will adapt the curve of the skirt to the bodice and pin the entire length. First, we will sew a straight stitch along the seam allowance and then use the overlocker or zigzag stitch. Once the waist seam is finished, we will also overlock the center back of the dress. From the bodice to the bottom of the skirt, pressing the waist seam down. The next step will be to place the invisible zipper in the center back with the marks outlined on the pattern. However, before inserting the zipper, you may want to try it on to see if any minor adjustments are needed. When inserting the invisible zipper, you must take into account the seam allowance on the pattern in the center back. Pin it at the correct distance where the stitching should go. We won't dwell on this step now because you can find a tutorial on our blog with all the steps you need to sew an invisible zip. When placing the invisible zip, the seam allowance of the garment itself, which we will then use to finish the neckline, should always be left free at the top, i.e., 1 centimeter in this case. After sewing the invisible zip, we will finish the bottom seam of the dress. We will place the center back pieces right sides together and make a stitching along the seam allowance from the bottom to the end of the zip. Then it will be time to create the spaghetti straps for our dress. You can also find this type of straps on our blog. Simply press a 3.5 centimeters wide fabric tape in half and fold the flaps toward the center as if you were pressing a bias tape in half. Once you have stitched the edge, the strap will be finished. Ideally, you should try on the dress, hold the straps in place, and adjust their length to exactly what you need. When placing the strap, we must be careful that it does not twist, so it is important to test the position. Then we will place it right sides together in the designated areas of the dress where it will be attached, and use these triangular pieces to finish it. This way, the strap will be between the dress and these pieces. Pass a stitching along the seam allowance, contouring that triangular shape so that the strap is secured. When removing the excess fabric, Keep in mind that it is always advisable to leave an extra centimeter within the seam allowance of the strap, in case you need to lengthen it. Before turning the strap pieces inside out, we will finish the necklines with a bias binding because it has a curved shape. We will cut a tape from our fabric on the bias and place it right sides together on each segment of the neckline. This tape can be about 3.5 centimeters wide. After sewing the first stitching, we will make very few notches, as we do not want it to sag, and we will turn the tape outward with the iron. Then we will bind the seam and run an edge stitching right along the side of the seam. This tape will also cover the fabric on the other side. The process is similar for the back, but we have to finish the fabric on the side of the seam. To do this, we turn the tape over the zip, and from there we make a fold, just as we have done in the rest of the neckline areas. Once you have stitched all the neckline segments, it is time to turn the strap piece over. And it is at this point that we will fold the neckline tapes again to form a hem. We will shape them with the press and finish securing them by hand. You could machine stitch them, but that would leave a visible stitching on the right side of the garment. There's no problem with that. It's just the type of finish you want to achieve on your dress. When you have finished these neckline tapes by hand, simply stitch them to the interface so that they are not visible on the right side of the dress. And that's how we achieve this beautiful visual effect. To finish, you need to finish the curved hem. For this, I refer you back to our blog, where you can find a great tutorial on how to make beautiful, fine, curved hems. We finish it off with the press, and we are done with our Anabelle dress. I hope you enjoyed this process and that you will show us your dresses once you have finished them.